Hey guys, welcome to the third episode of this audio series, Living with Autism, Part 3, What is Empathy? And so that is the question I'm going to start off with, and to sort of answer that in one of the most basic of ways, is that according to our best frenemy Google, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. But despite this really clear and straightforward definition, I can't say that I really grasp this concept fully. And so why do I say this? It's because empathy never comes to me naturally when it's supposed to. If someone has something on his mind and is going through something difficult, I am pretty much all ears. I love listening to people. I love listening to their stories. I think that passion for hearing other people's stories stems from my passion for storytelling in general, and wanting to. Well, I love it when people are feel comfortable enough to be honest with me, and so I really love all that. However, I may not be able to understand or share the person's feelings. The funny thing too is I analyze a person's feelings, but I typically don't always feel them. At least not at the moment. Especially if that problem that the person is facing doesn't directly affect me. It's so it's normally a moment of realization for me while I'm analyzing a person's feelings about like how that person must really feel in the current situation he's in. And even coming to that moment of realization, that dawning moment there, takes a little bit of time to get around to. And so, like, moving on to my next point when it comes to lack of empathy is I like to call the art of forgetting. I've been told by people before that when they talk to me or try to reason with me, it's like trying to negotiate with a brick wall. There would be no emotion or any hint on my face or in my expression that indicated I was listening when someone like my dad or a family friend I used to live with is trying to tell me what I was doing wrong or what about me was really bothering them. I would hear what they were saying, and I would be able to process a lot of what they were telling me. But typically, I would just end up beating myself up most of the time for my own failure to understand the weight of my actions, or sometimes my lack of taking action when I needed to, or when it would be considerate. Most of the time, the people I lived with would tell me how to do things a certain way, such as how to get the dishwasher started up, and making sure to collect my laundry from the dryer. The latter being something I still suck at staying on top of sometimes. But even so, I would almost never remember the instructions, or I thought I did, but I still, ended up screwing up. Um, so I know what you're thinking. Why not write the instructions down to get it right next time? Oh yeah, that was talked about. I even did it at one point when it became brutally obvious that it had to be done, or tensions would rise. Even after I wrote the instructions down in a little notepad I bought, I neglected the notepad, but the instructions became ingrained in my head, mostly because these instructions were written down. After the diagnosis, I thought about the fact that one of my greatest strengths was remembering things that were written. Considering that, and the fact that I have such a deep passion for writing, it made me tear up at the thought that the written word has such a powerful impact on my life. It seems like the written word is here for me to have the ability to remember, and when I read it, it's hard for me to forget. Which leads me to my next thing, and that is lack of motivation and understanding. When I forget something, like simply taking my laundry out of the dryer, and I'm confronted over it, my mind doesn't try and think of any solutions to possibly prevent something like that from happening again. So when I was younger and in school, I never understood the effects my grades would have on my transcript. I only thought about the fact that my parents were angry at me for my lack of motivation and lack of good grades, and how it upset me that they were mad at me. That's typically, what I would be thinking about. But I didn't understand the actual significance of the situation and how it affected me in the long term. The only time I ever felt truly motivated to do better and improve was if my parents threatened to take something that I really loved away from me, like, be it video games or something like that. And if that thing was taken away, I worked hard to get it back. But once I did get it back, my performance levels would, dropped back down to what they were like before I got my consequences, basically. So, to address one last thing, before this video is done, regarding my lack of empathy. I had trouble as a kid understanding why it wasn't a good time to be laughing at something funny that crossed my mind. Like during situations where, like when my mother was crying about something at the dinner table, something that had happened to her that day, or she's just going through a lot of stress. I had trouble understanding what was meant to be funny and what wasn't. I would laugh at a few serious moments in serious movies. And we're not talking about quote unquote serious movies like The Room here. We're talking like, real high dramas. But, I love laughter, but it has gotten me in trouble on multiple occasions. And even today, once in a while, that can still be a problem, though I'm happy to say I have immensely improved over time, and I don't do it nearly as often as I used to, thank God. um, so, before I finish this one, though, something, just a little last thing about empathy. It doesn't matter how much I've accepted my position on the spectrum and how much I've accepted who I am. I think there will always be a small part of me that feels sad that I can't feel the same level of empathy as other people can. Being on those same emotional wavelengths as other people. I feel, I typically feel like a little bit of that empathy, but not what would be considered the correct or typical amount. It makes me nervous because of the thought, it makes me nervous of the thought that others will think I don't care, because I don't show it most of the time. It makes me nervous to think that other people just simply, that people think just simply don't care about them and any of their struggles. Um, it's because typically I don't tend to show it most of the time, or because I can't conjure up the others-minded feelings often enough. I want people to understand that I care for others a lot. I just can't always display that when it's expected of me, like every single time. Alright, that's all from me in this video. Thanks again, guys, for listening, and please, if you want to ask any questions to learn more, post them in the comments section below, and I will respond. See you guys next time.